Hello and welcome to the Superhero Hub. I'm Sam,
I'm Matt.
and today we're going to be reviewing,
Gotham.
yeah, this episode being called these dark and something obsessions.
Yeah, that's the one.
I just looked up like 2 minutes ago. I forgot it. Um, Solid episode, great dynamics. Now, I'll draw parallels for a minute with season one. Penguin gets slapped up, and then he ends up vanishing, and then everyone's like, "Oh, where he is," and then he wakes up in Edward Nygma's bed. That may have sounded
I don't
weird,
remember that.
but I think I'm trying to think how he was injured. Well, something happened to him, and he ended
It
up.
was the Gordon thing, wasn't it? Where he shot him and he fell in the harbour.
No, this was like mid-season because he ended up being. Something happened, and he ended up in. Edward Nygma kind of got him, and then he was kind of nursing him back to health. And I mean, we can kind of draw parallels with Ivy and Penguin in this episode. But what I felt it was like with Nygma, because he featured a tiny bit in the episodes in the first season, that they kind of threw that in there, and then they kind of had him and Penguin going back and forth, developing a friendship, and that kind of fleshed out the character a little more because you had what Nygma was getting at. He revealed that he was kind of having split personality things and stuff like that, and that he was a criminal and a killer and stuff like that, and he was working through those issues with Penguin. So I think this episode, they kind of throw that stuff in so they can kind of flesh out a character. And obviously Ivy's featured very little in the season so far, so I figured they thought, oh no, let's have her pull him out the river, so then we can have an episode of kind of them two back and forth, and so you get a better gauge of her character and what her motivations are. So really it was a kind of character building episode for her.
Well, in that respect, it was great. I thought it was fun. I liked them two together. I liked their thing. I thought she was funny. I thought he's always probably been the best character in the show, but I feel he's been a bit rejuvenated now. Sticking with, that's what you can get sometimes when you stick two characters together. Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was good as well because they're kind of, in terms of continuity, Poison Ivy's grown up, but I think she still has those kind of immature tendencies, because you got to think, like, she was like, what, about 12 years old, and then she's blasted to like 25 years old, but really her mind hasn't caught up, if you know what I mean. So she is kind of immature, and you can kind of tell that in the episode with her like, I just want you to be nice to me,
right, it's like big, I guess.
So I mean that's quite good, because normally they could just par that off and have her acting like an adult, and then you're like, wait a minute, she was like 10 5 minutes ago. That was great. The whole kind of, because his plan is to kind of get an army together, go to Gotham, take it back, take out his enemies, obviously Tabitha, Barbara and Ed. As I said last episode, I mean, I figured now they've revealed Riddler to be Riddler is going to lie low, and they said that, you know what I mean. Gordon and Bullock talked about it. They said that he's literally dropped off the face of the earth, no one can find him. So I figured they'd do that. They'd kind of develop him, have him come out as a Riddler, and then knock him out the way for like the next few episodes while everyone else gets their S together. It's got to be Nanda Parbat, where Bruce is. The guy,
obviously.
The guy,
where else would he be?
Yeah, but maybe people don't know.
Well,
some people just watch it because it's a good show. They don't really know that much about Batman continuity.
This might be stupid, but is the old man Ra's al Ghul?
Nah, he's not. I think, because I mean, if
I know Alexander Siddig's been cast as Ra's al Ghul, but could he theoretically jump in to the Lazarus Pit and then
skin tone?
That's what I was wondering as well.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's not dark enough, is he?
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, it was a good idea because that's what I was thinking. I figure his sensei, Ra's al Ghul's immortal father, that kind of is featured in the comics, like in the kind of Ra's al Ghul thing, to kind of, this is a character. His father is also immortal and is called the Sensei, but he never really has a big role, so I guess that's got to be him there. You know what I mean? They made a lot of League of Assassins or League of Shadows references. the kind of Court of Owls as well. It's interesting, really, that see, this is the struggle now. If it is if he's Ra's al Ghul's father, what's kind of popping? Because we know that Ra's al Ghul's the leader of the Court of Owls, or going to be is the kind of thing behind it, because they mention it, and we know anyway because they've like mentioned it in synopsis like on the internet. So the Court of Owls want to destroy Gotham with this weapon, which is from Indian Hill, but I'm guessing Sensei, I'm going to call him that, he's trying to develop Bruce Wayne into a protector. So, like, what's going on? They're the same organisation, but one part of it, he wants Bruce to become Batman, as it were, in lesser words, and the Court of Owls just want to destroy Gotham.
Well, that's been...
So, what's popping?
In the comics, I won't get into the minutiae of it, it's all a bit complicated, but has... The minutiae, you like that? It has kind of been brought up now that the League of Assassins and the League of Shadows are two different things, and Ra's al Ghul leads one, and the other, I can't remember who heads up the other one, but maybe that's it. Well, maybe his dad's gonna be, League of Shadows, and he'll be League of Assassins.
Well, it's interesting,
and the Court of Owls,
because the kind of thing is that there's like the company, which is the Demon. There's like this big kind of corporate company, the Demon. He's the Demon. Ra's al Ghul's the Demon's head, and it's been referred that like the League of Assassins is like the Demon's hand. You know what I mean? So he's at the top, and there's different like factions of that, all revolving around him, and the League of Assassins is one of that. So whether the League of Shadows is also one or completely different altogether, but it's all kind of led by him. Whether there's like different kind of faction splits and stuff like that is not aware of or whatever.
Yeah, that's I mean, we're talking that's a relative. I mean, speaking in the comic terms, it's a pretty new development. So I mean, I'm not positive they'll adapt it, but the Court of Owls is as well. And this is, of all the stories in the show, this may be the one I don't hate it, but I am a bit nervous about, because part of the reason it works so well in the comic books, and granted this isn't the comics and they can do their own thing, but part of the reason it works so well in the comics is that Batman never knew about it. So it's this big conspiracy within Gotham that's always been there from before he was born. Throughout the entire time he's been Batman, and he never knew about it. Whereas that's certainly not the case now. Obviously he's not even Batman yet, so I'm wondering long term where it's going to go. And like I said, with Ra's al Ghul, who's going to fight him? Gordon?
I don't know, but I've always thought it's just going to be one of them things where, like, the problem is the dynamic until we really see Ra's al Ghul pop up and he starts talking and we know what's happening. Because for all we know, he wants the same thing as Sensei wants, but in the other sense, he maybe like Sensei's defecting and undermining Ra's al Ghul. So really, until that stuff's kind of thrown in front of us, we don't really know. So it is kind of all over the place. But there are a lot of stuff that kind of they're dropping that maybe is kind of a little different from the comics. I mean, getting back to the kind of I thought the kind of supernatural stuff, they've kind of thrown that in. They've had the like monsters and bringing people back from the dead in Indian Hill, but this is kind of bordering on. They kind of try and explain it away that like, oh, it just like opens up your mind so you can relive memories. You've always got the capacity to do it, but people generally don't do it. But it is kind of coming off a little supernatural, but they explain it away that it's kind of not. So you had him going back to Crime Alley, and it's like, look, I want to train you, I want to hook you up, but until you're ready to let go of what happened in Crime Alley, I don't think I can, which is kind of why I think that, like, yeah, he's there now, he's going to end up going back to Gotham, and when he's ready and has let go of the things that are kind of holding him down, as it were, that's when he'll go. But when he's like 18, 19, that's when he's going to go back there, knowing it's an option, and that's when he's going to train and become Batman. So I think they're just throwing it in, as opposed to him just randomly stumbling across it, like when he disappears or whatever it is he does.
Yes, it's a risky. I mean, it's not that risky, is it? But it's a step to take. I mean, we saw Arrow do the same thing, and in my opinion, not pull it off.
I think it's hand holding. I think they're doing a lot of hand holding, as it were, to like the viewers who aren't so kind of, because it is a popular show, not just for people who are like comic book fans. It's like it pulls in some good viewers. So I think really it is kind of petulant hand holding, like, look, as opposed to later seasons when they're like, oh, what's this? You know what I mean? That's what I kind of think it is.
But it's a choice you got to make with Ra's al Ghul, isn't it? Like I said, like Arrow made the choice as well, and it's like, how do you put it off? Because Batman Begins did pretty much a similar thing that was done in this episode, but without the mystic flashback. Instead, it was Liam Neeson sat there with Bruce Wayne in the ice as they were doing that training sequence, talking about blah blah blah, your father was weak or something along those lines, right? They did basically the same thing, but without the wacky, oh, we've gone back in time. Whatever, it wasn't that bad considering all the crap we see in the show anyway. I swear it worked. It's not like in Arrow where you've suddenly gone from super gritty reality like Batman Begins to what the hell are we doing now kind of thing. It's like, it's just the next step along, really, isn't it, for this show?
Generally, whatever they do kind of, they do it well. So I'm confident that they ain't gonna. Yeah, there might be like dropping stuff that isn't dropped in the comics till ages, but I think they'll handle it sensitively. Also, kind of with the Court of Owls, you got Uncle Frank, and then Gordon finds out that Frank kind of got the hit out on Peter because he was going to expose the owls and stuff like that. Then you had him like having that real kind of pointless scene with flipping Lee Tompkins. It's like, sort that out, man. I'm sick of her pouting. It's like she needs to get it into her head that like Mario was about to kill her. That's why it's annoying. I wanted that to be clear. You know what I mean? So like she can stop pouting and being. It's like if I was Gordon, I'd be sitting there. I'd really in the back of my mind be thinking, I wish I let her stab him now. Like, I wish I let him stab her now, so then she'd know. Even though
this entire thing was pointless. The Tompkins thing. It's like, you're seriously still crying over Falcone.
Exactly.
Like this far into the damn. I get being angry the first episode after, maybe even the second, but this far late, no, move on. Yeah. And as far as, I don't care about his uncle. I think it's a throwaway character, which is a bit of a shame. Like, he was there and now he's dead, whatever.
I think it was just a way of kind of introducing Gordon to the league, because obviously he's at the offer. Frank pops himself, and then he gets an invite to like the limo, and that's how it ends.
Yeah, right. But that's what I mean. But exactly, that's what it seems like. Just a plot device to get him in the limo in the end. I didn't care about it.
I think it's going to be way too obvious, though. I mean, the Court of Owls are like, I think, clever people. Like the fact that it's joined up, and then you got to know it's like way undercover. So whether they end up destroying the Court of Owls, and then it don't come back for like 10 years or whatever, or they think it's gone naively, and then they don't bring it back till ages, and then it turns out they're still fully operational. So yeah, in terms
if that's the case, that's fine, but then don't tell Bruce. There's no way Batman should know and then not look into it.
Yeah, maybe they'll just change the name. It's interesting because they brought a couple characters we hadn't seen for a while back. They brought Carmine Falcone. I mean, they brought him back for a little chat, because obviously they're kind of expanding that. Obviously the Court of Owls are kind of secretive, but like, look, we've had Carmine Falcone kind of aware, so there are like high society people or main characters of Gotham that are actually aware. Moving back to Penguin, yeah, he's building his army. You had Gabe come back, and I thought he was a real good character, but then it turns out he's like a turncoat. So I thought that was pretty batty because I kind of
Why? No, I think that makes sense. I liked it. I mean, why would anyone be loyal to the Penguin?
yeah,
He's the Penguin.
I guess so. What I thought was good because Gabe was a kind of likable character and stuff like that, and
Yeah, but
obviously,
it's a classic gangster thing, isn't it?
mm,
A lot of these, I mean, look, I've never met a real gangster, but as far as movies and TV shows go, a lot of these guys seem like likable dudes you can sit down and have a cup of tea with, but then he's going to put a bullet in you. Like, you can't trust these people.
yeah. What I thought was good as well is that like when Ivy uses, see, I like that perfume stuff. That perfume stuff ain't too like out there, you know what I mean? I thought it was good that it was like, check
It's
if it,
out, it's out there, but
yeah.
it worked.
Because he brings them in, he betrays them, then they're trying to auction off, then they end up getting out of it, and then they've got Gabe, and then the Penguin's like, you can see the desperation to have friends and stuff like that, which is why it's interesting he parred Ivy off at the start, but not now. But it's like, yo, check if he's being honest, he gets him on his knees, and then like, he starts out reeling like, nah, I'll never be loyal to you, all us guys just think of you as the kind of little freak that held the umbrella, you know what I mean? I thought that was a great scene. And then he flips out and then like whacks him with whatever that kind of forky thing was. And then they come to the conclusion, oh no, let's build an army of freaks, which I think is good because he is a kind of freaky looking guy in the comic books. So yeah, and he is a kind of outcast, and I guess he doesn't have friends. That's why he kind of jumps straight in with Riddler like, oh, I love you, you know what I mean? And then he kind of came to the right realization that he didn't love him, and it was just like him reaching out because he's kind of hasn't really had that connection. He's kind of been mothered a lot, so he's kind of all over the place. So I think they do that stuff well. So yeah, they're going to build themselves an army of freaks from Indian Hill. So we're going to have that come back. We're going to have some of the monsters we saw there, whether Killer Croc's going to feature or stuff like that, because it depends really whether they're going to go to Arkham and break out the Executioner and or do that route, or they are actually going to get proper like Indian Hill people. They're going to bring up a list of like people who have escaped who we've never seen. So I mean, we saw a flicker of Killer Croc in like the season finale of season 2. Obviously we've got Solomon Grundy. Apparently he's going to pop up later in the season, so whether he's one of them, but I think it could be cool, especially if they bring back, so I wouldn't even mind if it was like lesser characters as it were, but I think it would be cool if they bring in some like good characters from the comics that are freaks as it were.
How would you do Killer Croc on TV?
I don't know, but he did kind of look like a crocodile. He's all green and he had the glowing eyes, and he just kind of looked like someone had just like literally like a human crocodile, you know what I mean?
I'm thinking, I suppose we'll have to wait and see, but I do question that. I mean, because I know there were some people that dug it. I thought it looked stupid in the Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah, but that's because they didn't want a full CG character, and if they did, they probably would have gone for King Shark as opposed to Killer Croc. But really, you could have put it down to maybe he hasn't fully mutated yet.
Yeah, the film did kind of go for the earlier Killer Croc look, how he used to be. Because Killer Croc's basically turned into the lizard from Spider-Man nowadays. Like, he's literally a full-on lizard dude, but initially he was like a bloke with scales, right? So I suppose that's the way to go if they're going to do it.
That's kind of.
But you say it's like a crocodile.
Yeah, that's kind of how he looked. He kind of had the green scales and like the eyes, and I think it'd be good if he kind of talks in the voice that he kind of does in like the Arkham games, where it's all like hissy and stuff like that. Like that would be cool. So I think whether they bring him back or whether they don't. We had Barbara and Tabitha pop up for like. You had Talon, Muller, all their men, and then Prang it. Talon was sick. I don't know whether I completely brought the whole bullet dodging thing and the flips, but it looked good.
Yeah, I didn't buy it. Whatever.
I didn't think you would. Let's talk numbers.
I'm going to go with an 8. I had a good time. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I've said this before. I'm going to repeat myself because it came up in this episode again. I do like the guy who plays Gordon. I forget his name, but I think he fits the role. I think he's fine for the role. But again, this episode just kind of reinforced like how he's the least interesting dude in the show. Like everything around him is interesting. maybe if you maybe because maybe in fairness to the show, maybe it's because at the minute he's kind of out on his own.
Yeah,
Doing this whole Court of Owl thing. So if you throw him back in with the Penguin in that situation with everyone else, maybe he'll be interested again.
Yeah, I think that's it as well, because he hasn't really been beating the streets, as it were, and doing like detective stuff, because he has been. Now this whole family thing is going to be distracted, but whether they flick that up for the next season, but I think for now, for the rest of the season, he is going to be distracted. I'll give it an 8 as well. I think in regards to Gordon, the Harvey Bullock, is still a great character. You know what I mean?
Is he the captain of police?
I guess he is now. Yeah.
How's that happen? And what happened to Michael Chiklis?
He got the same thing as Mario. He got infected with the blood and he turned into the executioner, but not like Electric Glove. He just like the Punisher, I guess. He just kills criminals and it goes around shouting guilty.
Right.
Really weird. So yeah, I'll give it an 8 as well. I'm Sam.
I'm Matt.
And we'll see you in the next episode.